Hello everybody, it's your pal Crazy Super here, and this video is going to be really interesting because it's actually a mix of two things. It's my process of doing the 6 fan art challenge, which, if you didn't know, is basically you ask your fans to give you 6 characters to draw, and then you draw those 6 characters. But it's also going to be my testing of 6 different art programs and apps. If you're a beginner artist who doesn't know what program or app to get, then stick around and see all the different options. A lot of these are free, or most of these are free. Only one isn't free. So yeah, that's always a good thing if you're a beginner starting out with a free program and see how you like it. So yeah, let's get started. So I had actually asked for these different characters to draw on my TikTok. I created a video asking what characters to do, but I wanted the first character to be my choice, so I decided to draw Violet from Violet Evergarden, and I will be drawing her in Medibang Paint. I haven't finished the full show yet, but I've been loving it so far, and I really wanted to try and draw Violet in my style, because I really love her character and like her development and all she goes through the story. It's really cool and I love it, and like part of me is like, oh my god, it's like watching your kid grow up. I don't know. I've had that thing with like characters where like there's this one character that I really like and I'm like, I will adopt you now. You're my child. Yeah, Medibang Paint has actually been a program I've been using for a long time and still use to this day. It's a great tool for beginners and even non-beginner artists, I would say at least. It's got a simple layout that you can customize, and overall everything is very nice in the program. It also has plenty of shortcut keys and a lot of tools for comic artists. Its bucket tool is also really cool. You can adjust it to reference either the layer or the canvas, and I usually have it set on the canvas because that's just how I work. It usually does make your art progress go a lot faster if you do it that way. Overall, I think Medibang Paint is a great program to start with, so I would recommend to check it out. Because I'm so familiar with this program, this artwork didn't take me that long at all. I think it only took me like maybe an hour and a half. I had a good idea of the light source, and my shading turned out extra shiny this time. I think because of the reason I was testing out a way to draw lighter hair colors. I remember during the time I was drawing this, I was having trouble shading lighter hair colors because I like to add glow for every lighting situation. That tends to like blow out or like not really get that noticeable in lighter hair colors. So what I did is that I added like a shadow highlight thing almost in the hair, and I think that turned out all right. I think that made things look a little less like, oh no, where'd the hair highlight go? I don't know. Yeah, for the background, I did a blurred landscape thing since I thought it fit with the vibe of the show. And yeah, that was pretty much my whole process. Again, I think Medibang Paint is a great tool for beginner artists and non-beginner artists. It doesn't have a ton of features, especially not compared to like programs like Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint. But I still think it's pretty good, and I would recommend to check it out. Not the mobile version, because I honestly really don't like the mobile version, or at least the iPhone version. I had a version of the program or the app on my Amazon Kindle, and that layout was pretty good, but the iPhone version is really not good, so I would recommend not that one. PC, or I don't know if you have a tablet or Amazon Kindle version, those ones will work just fine. This next character was one of the characters that was recommended to me, and it's Shinobu from Demon Slayer, and the program I drew her in was Paint Tool Sai, version 2, specifically. The reason for that is because for some reason, the original Sai is not compatible with XP Pen tablets. For some reason. I don't know, but Sai 2 will have to do. The reason why I chose this for Shinobu was because I discovered you can change one of the brushes to have butterflies in it. So, you know, it's kind of perfect for the butterfly one. Me and my family love watching Demon Slayer, and I find Shinobu to be an interesting character. At first, when the name was suggested, I had forgotten that was her name, but I knew it sounded familiar, so when I looked up her name, that's when I was like, oh yeah, Butterfly Girl. If the name's not repeated enough times, it really doesn't particularly matter in the language. If it's not repeated enough times, I tend to forget what the name of a character is. So yeah. I will say that her character design is very unique and recognizable. And that is one thing about the show that I'm always impressed by, is how detailed they let their designs be, despite it being in an animation. Usually in animated or comic work stuff, you want your characters to have relatively simple designs, because you have to draw them over and over and over and over and over again. But somehow this show managed to pull off more detailed design, but still really good animation, so yeah. As for Psy, since it's a program I've never worked in before, well, that's a bit of an untrue. When I was a very, very beginner artist, still drawing with my mouse, I did actually create a couple things in the original Psy. Those are all on my old computer. I don't know if I can get them back at all, so yeah. They're so great, though. It's such a shame that no one will be able to see all my horrible mouse drawings. But anyway, as for Psy 2, since it's a program I've never worked in before, I wasn't sure if I would be able to find brushes that would work with my style and workflow, but I overall didn't find that to be a problem. One benefit to this program is, even though it doesn't have too many brushes, and I don't think you can download brushes. You might be, I don't know. There are tons of features that allow you to customize them how you like, which allowed me to create a more textured brush for the line art. I found the blending tools to be alright, although I do wish they had a little bit of a stronger effect. So that's the one thing, but that's just my preference. Another thing I like is how you can open up multiple windows and adjust them as separate windows, which is helpful for reference images. As you can see, that's how I use these in on the window here. And one thing about this artwork that was interesting is, while I was drawing Shinobu here, at first I was getting a little nervous that she really wouldn't look like herself in my style. My style is like very different from, not very different, but is pretty different from the style of Demon Slayer, and I was worried that part of the reason why Shinobu looked like so unique was because of the style she was drawn in. So I was worried that in my style, which is pretty different from the show style, she really wouldn't look like herself. But luckily, that didn't turn out to be the case. When I started drawing her hair, it all came together and was like, oh yeah, there she is. And that's another good testament to good character design, is it being recognizable in any character design. And yeah, that's just what I really like about character design. Overall, I did like working inside too. Again, the one thing I would say is that I wish the blending modes had a bit of a stronger effect, and I don't like the light layout, like the daytime setting, I guess. I don't know if you could change that. I really don't like that, because it's like a lot of glare and you're staring at an artwork for a while. It's gonna go not good for your eyes. But that's all, and really those are just my preferences anyway. Yeah, and now let's go on to the next design. The next character that was suggested is Kokomi from Genshin Impact, who I drew in Krita. This one took me the longest by far, but I'll explain why in a moment. For the character of Kokomi, I knew that I would eventually be suggested with a Genshin Impact character, and I wasn't disappointed when it was Kokomi. I really like her design, and it's hard not to like a character with a good pastel color palette, in my opinion. But I also love how well the designers were able to make her look like a sea princess, which I think is what they were going for. I've never actually tried to pull for her, but I still like her design a lot. Now, I've actually used Krita for a while, but I've actually only ever used it for animation. For anyone who doesn't know, Krita has tools for animation built right into the program, which you can use with everything else Krita has to offer for your animation, which is really cool because Krita has a lot of things, brushes, settings, etc. I've only used it for artwork though a couple of times, so I was interested to see how my workflow would be in the program. Overall, I was able to find most of the brushes I normally use, except for a textured hard brush for my line art, so I had to use this sketchier pencil-like brush instead. This turned out to be a happy accident, since I think using this brush for the line art added to the wispy feel of the artwork. so I'm glad I had to use it. One of the program's biggest weakness for me is their fill tool, which is not great. If there's a setting that would have made it better or easier to use, then that's great, but since I couldn't find it, I had a hard time. And I had to fill in all the colors mostly by hand, and that's not an easy job when you're talking about a Genshin Impact character who are famous for having complicated designs and a lot of colors. So the coloring was definitely what took me the longest to do. Other than that though, the rest of the artwork went well, and I found a lot of cool brushes for the background, like the paint brushes I used to paint in some jellyfish, and a cool brush to add in some texture to her fish. Overall, this is a pretty cool program. It's much more advanced, however, so I wouldn't recommend it to a beginner, but I think it would work for a more advanced or intermediate digital artist. The next character I'm drawing is Mina from My Hero Academia in the program, or more accurately the app, IBS Paint X. Now I know I said that I would be talking about programs, and this is an app, but I thought it would be a good idea to add in a mobile art app in case there's anyone that prefers or only has access to that. I have yet to watch all of My Hero Academia. I am still on season 2. Please don't come after me. But from what I've seen, Mina seems like a cool character. In the show, she has the ability to summon acid, which is pretty powerful ability. I think what she was gonna originally go for her hero name, Alien Queen, would have been sick as heck, and I wish they had kept that. Her design was interesting, figuring out how to draw. Her suit has a sort of camouflage purple and green pattern that I think is supposed to resemble acid stains or acid marks. Her eyes were also interesting to figure out how I would shade them, since it's just a yellow ring with black scleras, but I think I figured it out. Also, I would like to apologize for my grammar. I realized that wasn't good. I don't know how to grammar. I've actually had IBS Paint X for a while, so I already know how to use it for art. My art style does tend to change slightly. I suspect it has something to do with the fact that I draw this. I have to draw on my phone. When I draw on my phone, I'm drawing with my finger because I don't have a stylus. So yeah. IBS Paint actually has some similarities with Medibang Paint, as it has a lot of tools that are similar to understand, and also has a lot of features for comic artists. With IBS, you have access to a lot of brushes that you can even customize. You do have to watch an ad to access them, but it's only one ad for all the brushes for 18 hours, so that's pretty good. IBS also has a lot of good blending modes. Now, when drawing this, I did have a bit of a hard time with the line art, but that's just because I haven't found a line art brush I like yet in this app. Unlike Krita, this app has a much better fill tool, so that didn't take as long, and everything else went fine. The app also has the built-in speed paint feature, which is the footage you're seeing now. All I wish is that it was in the right size, but that's fine. Overall, I think IBS Paint X is a great app for beginners and non-beginners. Now, this one is going to be Bakugo for My Hero Academia in Fire Alpaca, but this one wasn't originally going to be in Fire Alpaca. It was going to be GIMP, but that didn't work out for multiple reasons, so I had to choose this one instead. In hindsight, I could have probably have chosen another app instead, like Autodesk Draw. I think that's the name, and I heard that's good. But this is what we went with and what we're going with. I don't know why I said we went with, because I chose to do this and I had to suffer. I really don't like how this turned out. The hair doesn't look right, and I think I drew his eyes too close, and overall I'm not particularly happy with this one. On a second viewing, it's not terrible, but I think it's definitely the hair that's like driving me a little crazy, and the eyes, why are they that close together? They just don't look right. And because Bakugo's hair is so it's spiky, so it's like hard for me to shade because I don't know what the form is for his hair. Like where does it begin, where does it end? I don't know. That's not any fault of the program, since Fire Alpaca is basically just a daytime version of Medibang Paint. It has a lot of the same features, only it has less features for comic making and less brushes, but it does have an animation feature, although for my experience it isn't quite as good as Krita's. But like I said, pretty much the same as Mini Big Paint. I think it was made by the same people as well. If not, someone's copying someone. But yeah, I don't think I did very well with this drawing, and I don't have much else to say. I do prefer Mini Big Paint over Fire Alpaca. One of the biggest reason is, I don't know if I mentioned this in the section, but I do prefer when programs have a dark mode instead of a light mode, because otherwise my eyes are gonna die because of staring at a bright screen for hours. So yeah. As far as Bakugo, I feel like he falls into the category of the typical angry, fiery character you'll see in a lot of shonen, but I don't dislike him. In fact, I do tend to find that personality a bit more fun to watch, but it can become boring if not done right. Again, I haven't watched this full show, but I have heard he goes through a character arc from what I've seen now, where he is now. He's still in that fight me type mentality, and it's like, okay. But anyway, let's move on to the last picture, which I think turned out much better. That's right, the last picture is of none other than Eddie from Stranger Things in the program Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio Paint is the only paid program of the group, and I included this because 1, I've had a good time in the program so far, and 2, I think it makes for a good contrast seeing the differences in paid and free programs. Now, I think there was a problem with Clip Studio recently where they have raised their prices. I'm not quite sure of the whole situation, but I don't want anyone to feel pressured from this video to feel like they have to have this program, especially since the whole rest of the video was me going over all the great free options that are out there. So yeah, that being said, though, I do really like Clip Studio Paint. I decided to use it since I was at a point in my digital artwork that I needed an art program with some more features and that would match a more advanced workflow. Some of the key features that made me decide to use Clip Studio Paint are the 3D models, which help me so much with poses, and they're built in so I don't have to look for like a third-party app for that. The variety of assets and brushes you can get from the community tab, and the comic features like the bubble tool, which is a big time saver. It has a lot of good blending modes, filters, and it even has an animation feature, although it is a bit confusing. So if you're looking for a program with a bit more to offer, Clip Studio Paint wouldn't be a bad choice. There's the Pro and the EX version, not quite sure of the differences. As far as the artwork goes, I had a good time with it. I'm not sure if I got all the elements of Eddie's design right, but it is a bit harder to transfer a character from live action into a style like mine, at least for me anyway. If you're wondering, yes, I do miss Eddie a lot. May he rest in peace. He's my favorite season 4 character, and it was fun seeing him in the story. In fact, I think he might have taken my place as my favorite just Stranger Things character like so far. Me and my family had a fun time watching Stranger Things. I remember my parents had watched it first, and they were trying to get me into it. And one day I was really sick and I was in bed, and I was like, well, I might as well give the Stranger Things a try, and I binged the whole season. I was hooked. I binged the whole first season, and then I watched the whole second season. And then we all watched the whole third season. I think I watched the third season before them. And then we were all waiting for season 4, and it was a good payoff, I will say. Holy. For this drawing, I decided to recreate his famous face he makes in the first episode. And that was fun to do, especially because I've been wanting to practice facial expressions more. Overall, I really like how this drawing turned out, and I hope you like it too. So I decided to go ahead and rank these programs in a tier list, so I thought you would have a better understanding of my personal thoughts on each, even though I just told you them, but, tier lists are a thing on the internet. In S tier, I would place Mini Big Paint, Clip Studio Paint, and IBS Paint X. It's funny how they all have paint in the title. In A tier, we have Krita, and in B tier, we have Paint Tool Side 2 and Fire Alpaca. And yeah, those are my rankings. Let me know what you guys think of these rankings and this video. If there's a program that you think is good, you can let me know in the comments. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, be sure to like and subscribe for more stuff. And these pictures, as well as my other artworks, are on my socials linked below. I have my 2 comics on my Webtoon, so be sure to check those out. Mysteries of Dysteria is almost wrapping up chapter 1, and I am hopefully almost done with Lost Hearts. God, it's taken me much longer than originally planned, but that's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.